Yeah, I mean, even newspapers. You can kill somebody with a newspaper.
How so?
If we had a newspaper here, I could show you. I'm being serious.
Yeah, but I mean, tell me about the things.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Tell me about all the things.
Public execution or what? Not that
It's a little bit of a grim.
No, we wouldn't start on
Would
public
we?
execution. I don't think it would start with public executions. Or at any time bring up public executions.
On a business podcast?
You think so?
There could be a place. Let's think of it. Public executions. Madoff?
Kearney?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems, even by your wicked standards, fairly harsh.
My weakest standards. I believing in the death penalty?
Oh, no, not the death penalty. I don't have a problem with that. Public executions, I don't.
Oh, I believe that if you were one of these school shooters or something, you should get it. Now, if it's a business person, I can't imagine that any money laundering type of...
It's not
But he
really-
did lose millions of dollars for people.
I mean, he should be flagrant. Well, he's dead now, but he should
Kidney
be.
disease, yeah.
Kidney?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yes.
It's an acute kidney
You get-
disease
You get chipped.
brought on by a grated down Colgate toothbrush.
I'm being serious.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I'm confused about how that
Well,
would look.
if you take a newspaper and you fold it up
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
in a certain angle,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like a long U with a one end being the kind of closed end.
Right.
All that paper becomes really thick, and you hit that off the top of your head just lightly,
hmm
you'll know what I'm talking about.
I would rather
No,
people spend their time working against recidivism.
that's one of my favorite words. If
Yeah.
you could remind me what it means.
Not going back to prison. I feel like those activities are helping anybody
Yeah,
stay
and
out.
And I'm hoping by bringing this up that this is not just a British thing, and we've now added to the quality of.
You talking about the newspaper?
Yeah.
I was
I
gonna
hope
say,
I haven't given
There's
another
a guy
idea.
in Tulsa, Oklahoma right now origamiing himself a mallet out of today's Oklahoma Times.
Well, it's going to be the first for everything
Yeah.
in Tulsa.
In Tulsa.
Tulsa Time.
That's a great
Yeah.
song.
Tulsa Time. Who was Tulsa Time? Who
Don
did it?
Williams.
Yeah, Don Williams had a couple.
You know, he played at the Palace about 1 week before he died.
Don Williams died?
Don Williams died just a couple years ago, and I wanted to go see him at the Palace.
I did not know that.
And yeah, I love Don Williams. He's probably one of my favorite 70s country artists, and some great songs.
Yeah.
And he died just either right before or right after he played at the Palace.
I always thought he was the guy that did If I Said You Had a Beautiful Body, Would You Hold It Against Me? That's not Don Williams. I
That's
thought
not
for
Don
the longest time. It's
Who is
very
it?
much of his, I forget, but it's very much of his ilk.
I feel like that needs to be Googled.
But I remember my dad
Mm-hmm.
was a big Don Williams fan, and we had a Don Williams greatest hit cassette
In Scotland.
in Nigeria.
A Scottish man in Nigeria listening to Don Williams.
Yep. The locals did not approve. You know, Don Williams, I mean, the cassettes, a lot of the cassettes, you could buy them there.
Mm.
They were all black market. They were all copies of copies
Right,
of
right.
copies, but, you know, they barely cost a penny to buy.
The Good Old Boys Like Me
Mm.
is, I think, one of the best songs ever.
You'd have to sing that. And
And those
maybe,
Williams boys, they still mean a lot to me. Hank and Tennessee. I like the references he uses. Like Tennessee Williams and Hank Williams in the same
Right.
song. How do you put those together with
right.
the soft southern winds through the live oak trees? I think it was just very well written. I don't know if he wrote it, but he certainly performed it.
I don't even know where the guy's from.
I don't either.
You know?
You know, if I had this computer, I could punch all this up and
Well, he may be from Oklahoma.
he may be. And you know
Yeah.
what his favorite weapon of choice was?
What's that?
Rolled up newspaper. It's
What
a
is
thing.
it really?
Yeah, it's in this wiki.
In fact,
It's-
it comes in-
if you find
I'm
it
actually
right now,
going
it's
to.
on the wiki.
I'm actually, as you're talking over there about that stuff, I'm actually going to look. It's going to drive me nuts, and perhaps people at home will already figure this out.
God, there were so many good Don Williams songs.
Well, let me see here.
All right, so back to the public executions of business people.
He's from Floydada, Texas,
That's appropriate.
and he died in Mobile, Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
at the age of 78,
And he was still performing.
which is often the case.
Yeah, I love that.
you
So
know,
back to public executions of business figures.
Do you have a favorite? I mean, is there somebody you want to put on the?
No,
the
but
stump?
I'm thinking like Has there been a business figure? I'm sure there's been somebody who's done so much terrible stuff
Mhm.
that you'd have to go, okay, that guy's right for the gallows.
I mean, to your point, when you are ultimately ruining, let's say people that are retired age,
Mm-hmm.
and you've, by deceit, ruined everything for them. They can't retire.
Yeah, like
You've
Madoff
basically
did.
like stolen left, right, and centre. Basically, is what you've done. You sold them snake oil. Is what you've done. Um, is that actually taking a life? I mean, it's not far from it. The biggest difference is the lawyers that they have to protect them and the amount of money they've got protecting them. I'm not going to name any companies, but there's a
Right.
whole movie called The Insider with Russell Crowe, which is exactly about that.
How did I miss that one? I love Russell Crowe.
It was in the 1990s. Well, actually, one of Russell Crowe's earlier. It's him and Al Pacino, and it was filmed right here in Louisville.
What?
Yeah, in the 1990s. And the guy that was played Al Pacino's body double, I knew him. I forget his name now, but I knew him because he was at my wedding. And he called me over. I worked downtown at the time. He called me over. I want to say we were at like 4th and maybe 3rd or 4th Street, somewhere up there by Jefferson, somewhere at one of those streets. And he called me on over. And as everyone that I was with, my friends and stuff, they got all like excited, like Bill's going to meet Al Pacino. Well, it wasn't Al Pacino, it was this guy. However, sitting 2 seats right down from him was Russell Crowe, and he was the stand-in for Al Pacino for this particular scene. So that was, a little brush with stardom for myself
Really?
there. We kind of got off the point there, but
You were very close to Zeus.
I was.
Yeah.
And who would have known that it'd be Zeus
Yeah.
and Maximus? Was it Maximus? What was his name in Gladiator?
Maximus Aurelius.
Aurelius Maximus.
Something.
Oh, I tell you, when we were soldiers,
Mm-hmm.
or we were soldiers,
I haven't seen that.
it's set in Vietnam. That is horrendous. Fantastic.
Wasn't that a
movie.
Mel Gibson movie, though?
Yes. I take it back. When you said Hearts War, you got me going there. But let's talk about Mel Gibson. We have an empty seat, but come on and talk about your business. Maybe answer some questions.
I like the idea of
From
people
us.
coming in and talking about their
Yeah,
business.
promote. I mean, absolutely. I don't, promote your business a little bit and talk to us about your business.
I get bored talking about my stuff. I do my stuff all
I'd
the
rather
time.
hear about other people.
Yeah.
Because I always find that mine must just be emotional turmoil for people if I actually start to talk about it too much.
Well, at this point, when you talk about rates going up and their monthly payments going up, it's a
Yeah,
big
I
deal.
mean, it's
So I heard the statistic that it's 25% more expensive to buy a home now than it was on January 1st.
yeah.
And the average person's buying power has decreased. Last I heard was 40,000, but that was when rates were like 5.5. So it might be more like $50,000 now. So if you had a $350,000 approval in Jan 1, you got a $300,000 approval now.
Probably not far off the mark.
And so that's got to be painful for folks.
Well,
So
it
we
does,
talked
and-
about that. It's like we could choose really depressing topics like one of these murder podcasts,
Right.
or we could just talk about the mortgage market right now.
Well, I think a bit of the two. And
it's slow, painful death. The death by 1,000 cuts.
the demise. So, if we drink too much coffee and get overexcited about it. Are you drinking coffee?
Yes, I am.
All right. I'm
We just
not.
had Mexican food, and I got to keep up.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing all right. I'm fired in there.
I also have bourbon.
Well, that's for later. Yeah, we'll maybe have that later. That might be a topic of discussion sometime. Some of the favorite bourbons.
The bourbon I'm making.
And then, Ken has his own old family plants, some old books and recipes and stuff from the late 1800s.
I was just on Distiller's Talk.
Yep, that's right. I heard
you
that.
listen?
I did. I listened to it. I
Yeah,
listened to it.
It was really cool. We were here, me and Christy and Alan Bishop and Alan Bishop's wife, and we recorded it in here in the boardroom.
Well, when that takes off, if it takes off, and let's say it does,
Mm-hmm.
then it'll just be me. I'll be here. by myself.
Well, if I'm here, I won't be sober.
That's fine.
No,
Yeah.
I'll be here because I'll never stop doing real estate.
Well, that's
I
good.
love real estate. I'll die doing
Yeah.
real estate.
Well, that's what I love about my job as well, is that I can do this well into my retirement too,
Mm-hmm.
and I shall.
Yeah.
Maybe not as many hours, but I'll still do it because I enjoy it.
When let's say we're in our mid 70s and we're doing this podcast, which is going to be faster for you than it is for me.
Thank you.
you know the puppets, the old cranky men on Sesame Street.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's what I
But
envision.
It was the guys up in the balcony.
Yes.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
theater.
yeah. That's. I wish I knew their names
I don't remember.
because they were at Disney World, and my kids love Disney, so we went to the Disney World, and they had the Muppet thing.
Did they
and-
really?
yeah, and they incorporated them into one of the little attractions,
All right.
and there was this thing with minions, and then water was getting squirted out of the seats in front of you, and then these old buggers are up there just
Right.
being rude, and it was funny.
There's certain levels of cantankerousness which are hilarious, and these
Yes.
guys were funny.
Yes,
Muppets was way ahead of its time too.
it's a very progressive show.
Well, it is. It's and Sesame Street. Well, no, the Muppets don't.
Are
I
they?
guess it's Sesame
Is
Street
the
most of the
Muppets
time.
Sesame Street?
Well, it's. I think it's all the same. I think it's all Jim Henson stuff.
But I thought it was the same show.
No, the Muppets was a primetime show.
Was it really?
Yeah, and that would be. Well, now in America, I think it was a primetime show. In Britain, it definitely was a primetime show, and it was shown on a Saturday night. I want to say about 7 o'clock at night for like half an
What?
hour. It was so popular in the
What?
70s. Yep. So you had Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy.
Around here, and their liberal ideas, we put the Muppets on PBS through terrible, rabbit ears reception, and it was on a certain time on public broadcasting.
Yeah, but I mean, prior to you being around when it was in the 70s, I'll
Yeah.
bet it was on. I'll bet it was
You
on
think
national.
so?
I would be very surprised that it wasn't initially in its first one. And of course, all the Muppet movies, which has been tons of.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so many famous people, wanted to be on the Muppet Show.
I always wondered if that was like part of the easy gigs your agent got you. Like, hey, we got you a spot on the Muppets. Congratulations.
But it was huge exposure. I mean, it really was like huge exposure to a younger generation. But don't forget, it was made to a way that adults liked it.
So as you can see from our pilot, it's going to be a lot of smash cuts of some comedy, some business,
And more comedy,
more comedy.
happenings.
I hope it's funny because I sure find it funny.
It is, and we're just getting warmed up. I mean, the pilot's an introduction. It's like the first chapter in the book.
Kevin Spacey.
House of Cards?
Yeah. The House of Cards. Remember the House of Cards that
Yeah,
Netflix
yeah.
did? So the producers, one of the ways that they set the tone for the show was they had him kill that dog. That's the first scene in the whole show. You remember this? Like the first scene in the show is the dog that got hit by the car, and he has a mercy killing of the
Well-
dog in the street.
It's quite ironic, Ken, because I did find a newspaper, and
That's good. Well done. Well played, sir. So I think we've set the tone pretty well. We've killed our dog
yeah,
here.
Yeah.
You've got the newspaper. And it'll be a whole lot more business and newspapers from that dogs.
Yep.
And
and guests, and absolutely stay tuned.
And,
So today we're just that was us just getting our what did they say? Getting our teeth,
cutting your teeth.
cutting your teeth, cutting your teeth. We were cutting our teeth.
I feel like there's so many teeth sayings, but I can't pull any of the
I almost
up.
regret saying that because I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't remember it.
It slowed down the pace of the show. I appreciate
Never been very good with
We're on the
phrases,
way out.
catchphrases. Adios, folks.
it. All right.
Cheers.